Sorry.
It's Friday night once again.
Hi,
I don't
guys.
think we caught the little. Maybe you missed the snafu a little bit. It might have.
What?
But
Oh, that weird.
yeah, that little like
How we
that little awkward pause.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Good.
the big thing is it's Friday again, and that's a big thing, right? So we always have to say Friday's a big thing, right?
Yes,
And
it is. It's Friday.
You have plans?
Tonight? No.
No plans for tonight.
Sunday? Yes.
Sunday? Okay. Well, I mean,
The parade.
Sunday. Oh, that's right.
St. Patty's Day parade.
We left out Saturday, and there's probably a reason why. Anyway, we'll get to that later. There'll be more inquiring.
Oh my God.
But we're going to be talking about an interesting topic and like how it's going to impact. I think, I mean, obviously the mainstay, you kind of like, because I think obviously focused on real estate is obviously a clear key advantage for what we do here in terms of discussions.
Yes.
And I do think this impacts, this is what I call the everything of everything. Because we're in the midst of the second industrial revolution. And I think people need to pay attention to this because a lot of people, I don't know, there's going to be complacency in this matter is going to be costly on a few fronts. I do think that complacency about like what the future, what's going on right now, and we're going to get into what's going on right now in the world of digitization of computers.
Yes.
And everything we know from a standpoint of how every company operates, how you will operate at home, how this is going to impact everything from typical searches to your search for a home to maybe a search for the next career or what this is going to mean. Because one of the things, obviously, so the thrust of this is AI. AI has been the hallmark, and it's about a year I've been talking about what this means for, like what this means for everybody and everyday folks, because it's going to be. I really want to know what people's opinion of it is, because I think I talked to my sister. She's not big into. She's an artist.
Yes.
And if you go into artists and like what's going on with artists and what's going on with the digital landscape, like people's jobs are starting to get replaced. And I think one of the biggest things in tech world, I think what the biggest thing is in the tech world, and that is obviously going to integrate into real estate in a fashion too, because it's like, from what my understanding is, and I did watch this, I think J.P. Morgan conducted a study about how many workers would be displaced because of artificial intelligence. So like they talked about like what industries, and you actually went through a few of them. One of them being the legal one, right?
Yeah.
You'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
When you like. Obviously, you're scared of it. You came across some things that and prior to coming on, we bantered around a little bit about what this AI stuff means for you guys. One of the things, obviously, we know you work with AI.
Yes, I do.
So yeah, I mean, if you see the images that we've been able to do some pretty astounding creations with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How far it goes, though, is the real question. They're not doing it itself. Keri's like, Anthony, you can't use this stuff because then you might not need me around.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But the big thing is that I think what's happening is like where the transformation is going to take us in the next 5 years. I think that's projection outward. So let me just ask you, what did it's 2024, 2029. Let's say 2030.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God, we don't want to think that far.
No, I definitely don't.
Yeah.
I'm
I
30.
but for me, it's I even more definitely
Yeah.
don't. But the big thing is that there's some big changes. So what we're going to do is go over the big breaking news in
Yes.
the last month. So what is that job that it seems to be the most risk right now? We're gonna have legal people watching this.
I know, right?
I think that's it. And I'm gonna divert to my age and go to my glasses.
So the biggest job that I came across, like while doing service,
Right.
was lawyer.
The lawyer industry.
Yes.
And what specifically do we know about what that's going to change?
So it says that a number of small and medium-sized firms will fall over the next 5 years. That as small teams of one of 3 humans working with AI systems do the work that would have required 10 to 20 lawyers to do in the past.
So there's a big change. So there's 2 things, and that's good thing you pointed out, is the complexity of putting together, the funny thing about the legal profession is the amount of research that goes in. Usually if they're doing casework, what it is trying to find legal precedents and things like that, and going back and forth, finding precedents cases, making an argument. If nobody's familiar with ChatGPT, I think for a good part of it, you can do a bit of legal. You could create an argument. I've done it. I'd be like, you could play lawyer.
Well, yeah.
So like it'll give you a case. So I did this with AI. It's funny because it's like these things is that I made a fictional case and I was going to make an argument.
Okay.
For or against what I had, you could do this now, guys. So if you have like ChatGPT, even the 3.5, which isn't
even 3.5.
Yeah, I mean even that. I mean you could do this stuff. It's that you can literally make arguments and argue to the strengths. And it's interesting because I did think I developed. One of the things that you do develop in that is like you get to learn, and we're going to get into that, what it's going to do to learning.
Yeah.
You do learn about like how to make the argument one way or another and like frame it up on artificial intelligence. So like it will present the judge, it will present the attorney.
Really?
Yes, you could do all this now, and it's like you could run your own mock trial on
through ChatGPT.
Yes.
Wow.
So
That
mock trials, and it was interesting because it's doable now, and it's like so you could, and I think there's like a whole bunch of things, like games you could play, as far as that's concerned in terms of games you could play with, like you make your own. You could script it out to make. And I've done it, and it's really compelling and interesting stuff. And my thing is how it's changing for everyday Americans, but that's profound. Because what we talk about in the legal profession is, right, from a legal standpoint, and why it's going to change the legal profession. And there's several ways that it's going to change the real estate profession.
Yeah.
Because of what we know. Obviously, everybody's watching Bitcoin, and I've talked about this for a while, about what we call smart contracts and things like that. How contracts, like when you used to do contracts in terms of like doing contracts on the blockchain, now won't require like all the paperwork that's required in a typical closing. So like people could literally they could add property within seconds, and they're going to digitize. And smart contracts, meaning the contracts you write will be digitized to the point where it's like you could make it automatically something over a period of time, and it automatically will take place through blockchain technology. With the implementation of artificial intelligence, we will be running things that probably most people would not comprehend. Right now, what's going on is probably some of the most. And the speed. Folks,
Yeah,
if you don't know the
that's
speed of this,
insane.
I don't believe, if you believe just what's happened in 2 years, go on to our feed. You can see we actually did some. I know we did some. We run a bunch of artificial intelligence programs here, so
Yeah.
it's like we do a bunch, and we're always learning, and I'm always,
Oh yeah, every week it's like,
you're always coming, and it's interesting because they get scared when I start talking like, oh, Anthony found something else.
yeah,
What's going to pop up?
no, for real.
What is he going to figure out today? But you have to, and I think that's the necessity. I said this before. I said to myself, you have to get on top of that. But back to what we were originally talking about, the legal profession. How, like, when we're giving a specific example, even the real estate profession.
Yeah.
I did see something today on, I believe it was Zillow.
But
That was ChatGPT related bots that were now on the screen. Google is having a hard time with it, obviously. If anybody hasn't watched Google had an absolute nightmare this week. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but the speed is which.
Oh,
is
yeah.
key. So my thing is that all the inefficiencies that we typically experience for doing different things, and it's not like the old times where it's like, oh, you get those kind of standardized chats. These bots know and understand context, tonality, directness, all these like nuances that you would never in a million years believe it was possible to do. Which we call generative AI, which is like the system learns how to adapt to your tone. So with the education part, let me just finish. I know I'm jumping ahead of scattering around. So with the legal profession, again, what I think is going to happen is that, not to say that it's going to kill the profession,
yeah,
but what it's going to do is obviously streamline processes. So the processes of which we're moving, all these things at the speed we're moving it, the necessity is really going to...
it says here that human lawyers in the U.S. could cut by 25% or more
25%.
by 2028.
By 20, just that soon. That's huge. That's a big, that's news. 25%. Yeah, I mean, there was one YouTube, I think it was with JP Morgan was being asked, some of the technological people there said that 40% of the world's workforce will be deemed obsolete.
Oh my God.
40. The estimated 40%. And one of the interesting things is that you see the tech sector now.
Yeah.
The tech sector is hemorrhaging jobs left and right. So they really they're dispatching jobs like crazy because engineers. So I want you to kind of give this like a push, because you can get a 16-year-old now to engineer an entire car. So if you take a car, like, usually like weight distribution, how a car will handle a turn, the G-force levels that a car would, so like, it used to be held by engineers who would do studies and conduct tests. These tests would be assembled. You could basically assemble an entire car, including the I was watching this. It was wild. I was just so stunned.
A 16-year-old?
Yeah, a 16-year-old could literally go in and design a full functioning car.
By using like...
But because people don't realize what goes into a car, it seems like it's simple, like just road stability. How does a car not swerve when you make a left turn or a right turn, stays in its lane? So weight distribution, how the car is going to handle with certain tire sizes, all these things, a bunch of like in certain emergency handling situations, how the car responds. It used to take a series of engineers to kind of get the data to assemble to see if the car was going to be distributed correctly on certain conditions. That literally could be done in a matter of seconds. So like maybe in 18 seconds, it will give you the components, what they should be using, what type of materials, how the parts that would be required and the weights of those parts, what they average out. It's Well, guys, that's why
I can't even.
and what's even talking about this because it's so. Because I think some people they're walking around very blindly right now as to what's really going on, and it's so profound and it's so fast. I can't describe to you how much as like I'm just talking months. We were just in this. I remember just touching this like a few months ago, and not even like touching what I've been able to do personally.
Yeah.
Which scares the bejesus out of people.
Yes.
When I'm making my hands on something, I could go really deep. But the big thing is how it's going to really manage your finances. Yep. It will give you scenarios on how to save, what like risk tolerance, how much you could expect if you invest a certain amount based on historical data.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I heard it's coming for.
Financial planning?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was that in there?
Yes, I have that here.
What is it?
So it says that it's eventually going to do like interactions such as credit score monitoring, fraud detection, financial planning, insurance policy matters, and customer service. AI systems will also be used to develop more complex and rapidly executed investment strategies for large investors. It's coming for everybody's job.
I don't think there's anything that won't be touched by it. There's no doubt about it. So if you're out there, so we're going to get into where we are as far as, and you did actually something, you already were toying around with Instagram, having a friend, an AI friend on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. So like you were asking advice, it was giving advice.
Oh my God, yeah.
Psychologists, and it's,
it's crazy.
The real question remains at this point, like what could be done as far as regulating it, if anything. And this is where I think it's going to get really interesting. But let's get into the other thing where education falls.
Oh, yes. So another thing that will like probably change 5 years from now is education. So it says that it's going to be tailored for students' specific needs now. So I guess in some kind of way it's going to like know how to deal with children in a more specific way.
So customized education.
Yes. That's what
and do you? But like I know, like let's get into you because obviously you've graduated college, which is a thing. Now, but this is a thing. It's a thing. It's a good positive thing.
Yes.
Finally finish with that.
Yes.
But let me just ask you this because I have to. I think for the sake of people who like have kids and like where it goes. How do you view what you learned over the last 4 years, and do you feel it's relevant?
The stuff I learned in college?
Yeah.
I don't think it's very relevant, to be honest.
No. So like you say, like your typical marketing classes. Now.
Oh yeah.
That's relevant.
Yes.
It's relevant, but how do you think AI?
Well, you don't really need those classes anymore.
Right, so you basically say if you really want to learn something, you feel like
I would go.
Do you actually? Oh
no!
Here we go. We gotta. There's one thing with this floor. I need chairs. I'm gonna redesign this whole entire set one day.
Yes.
One day when I put my mind to it. But do you feel? When you do marketing, obviously you do that here. And do you feel that at the speed at which it's moving, that the education you had is going to feel dated, or it's going to be obsolete?
Oh yeah, I'd have when I was in college, we'd have a month to work on a project, make a poster.
Right.
And that would take, we'd have a month to do that, maybe even longer. But now, I could just type in on ChatGPT and be like,
Here's your post.
make a poster for. We had to do concert posters, and I could have been like, make a new poster for Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
but like that took me like a long time to make that, and now it could be made in like seconds.
Do you feel that when you like, how much of the creative part of the business do you think it changes? Like, what do you feel like as far as the creative side? Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, because you used to have to create things through imaginary, like, I guess in the process of designing something, right? When you do design, you like, you have to envision it.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I mean, obviously you use ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
So do you feel like you're replacing the vision part of it? So like if you have the idea, do you prompt it and get a response for it, or you think you still craft it?
I mean, you definitely have to be detailed when you type it into ChatGPT, but I mean, it pretty much, if I type it, like it pretty much gives me what I'm asking.
Right.
Like it's not very, like I guess I'm not like using much creativity, honestly.
She's trying to walk a fine line now. She's like, well, you know, it's okay. Don't worry, we won't hold you. The more you know about this, the better, actually. I mean, so it's not like, look, there's no doubt about it. Even, you know, and why I kind of asked that is, and that's the part of fear, obviously, that people experience. Anybody who's, you can go on TikTok and you can see all this stuff play out, because there's a lot of people who talk about it, and like the new video platforms that are coming out, which is
oh my God, yeah.
I mean, we use some of that stuff. I mean, we use not that specific one, but I mean, it's become interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of like where that kind of goes, because I do think the creative space is going to change rapidly. I think Pandora's box is open to that. We've gotten past the point of where we think it's stoppable. Like, I don't think at this point, because it's become a war. Mm-hmm. So like we've gotten to the point where the war advancement is like into it. I don't think since the time of the first Intel chip versus the first like Microsoft versus Apple, when that first became like the first PC computers, and how like, you know, the processes were like a big thing, and like how fast a computer would move. These were big like advancements. Like they were making processes faster and faster and faster. And then it kind of like that kind of died away. Cloud computing became a thing, but it's still. And then there was the talk of Web3 and all this stuff. But we're getting into the AI stuff. There's a war, and if you don't know what that war looks like, instead of defense spending being spent on like maybe military operations, now the race is who's going to create the perfect artificial intelligence. And if someone doesn't stop that pendulum, who stops it? So like the biggest part, what they fear about regulating it, and most countries will fear regulating it, because the country or the entity that fails, that stops because of regulation, you know that there'll be places that won't, and they'll be advancing it much further. And if the scales tip a certain direction, you will never catch up again. And I think that's where the race is. So like if you get ahead in that race, which it's a race now. And if you haven't looked, I mean, look, you can go into stock market. Most of the stock market gains in the last 6 months have nothing to do with anything but AI. And the numbers are supporting it. So if you haven't seen what NVIDIA has done, NVIDIA stock is the stock of the year, obviously. And AI is the driving force. There's also behind Web3 and cryptocurrency, if anybody's familiar with that. But the big thing about it is we're looking at absolutely a war. I mean, the staggering numbers of investment that's coming into that space is so profound. I believe that it was almost, the valuation of NVIDIA has changed almost $1 trillion in a span of 18 months, which is
Wow.
unprecedented in terms of like anything that's happened. People, I mean, it's not been talked about, but I mean, you have AMD out there, you have some other companies. Chip processing and things like that is like, so that's how big it, and it's gaining steam. So, I mean, if you haven't looked at today's thing, I think both AMD and NVIDIA are in this war of who's going to make the chips that drive this stuff. And I think we have a lot of things, like a lot of headwinds in that direction. And I think how it's going to affect our space is going to be a thing to behold as well. But the war is on. For AI. And I think for people that don't know what's going on, you got to pay attention to this, because a lot of the stuff that you have going on in your house is going to be impacted by AI, and probably your next TV shows may not actually be anybody but completely. There was times where there was a discernible difference between, everybody knows the video game space, and like they used to make, it's like, oh wow, this is really lifelike. Now we're talking about, I think one time I showed you the clone, right? Of
Oh yeah.
how you could we're really talking AIs.
Well,
we could be clones right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
telling
my
you right
God,
now,
imagine.
you wouldn't know the difference if we were talking or not.
It's scary.
Are you scared?
I'm like actually really scared of this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think for the younger generation, I think it's a little bit scary, because it's like, where's my place in this? And you hear that around a lot. Where is my place in
Yeah,
this?
and you just don't know what's going to be real or not anymore. Like,
Well, that's you have social media, so we still don't know what's real or not.
it's going to be even more trickier now.
Is that really happening, or is that just a post? Yeah. Before it was just filters. Now it's a whole. Whole like physical being.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm so curious how like Disney movies are going to look like with this technology, because Disney is like, you could totally tell, like they're like made up characters, like you don't really.
Now you will not know the difference.
Like the Lion King, like I feel like that will be crazy.
Yeah. Picture a life like. I mean, picture it being. You will. It will. The only thing is that where this gets darker and where the systems get darker in this whole process for anybody who's watching is if you don't have people consuming, and if like there has to be a consumption level of like what's being put out. So like we have an economic system where people perform, and part of that performance or whatever it may be, there's an equal trade of value. But without that component, now it's just like you're building everything just to be this way outward, but there's no contribution from the other side. So it's like that's where it gets. That's to me is the number one factor in artificial intelligence. Your hair looks great, Keri.
Sorry. I'm always touching you. I'm sorry.
She loves touching her hair.
I know. I gotta stop.
There's a thing. It's just. I think that's just like how do you say? It's like because we have to watch ourselves. And
Yeah.
I really, at this point, I have to watch myself, and some people think that's a bad thing. But anyway,
Like it.
It's like we see each other. We're like looking in a mirror. So
Yeah.
it's like so it's like you look in the mirror and you're kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
For her, it's just the hair. For me, it's like, is there a line showing? And like things like that. But which we could artificially fix anyway.
Yeah.
We'll never have to age. Let's fix that. But what the last thing that I do want to touch on is privacy.
Privacy.
Yeah, there's I mean, do we have anything more on this on the European Union's AI regulation and framework? Do we know anything more about
No.
Okay, so there is EU is trying to attempt, which guys, it's not going to work. I don't think regulation in the space is going to happen. I can't imagine. It's too fast. Just try to picture regulating something like, it's like trying to regulate the speed of a train after it's past the stop. It's like it's already gone. And like it's moving so fast now, it's like, how do you stop regulation? You can't, how do you regulate something? By the time you finish, by the time all those people who sit around all day figuring these things out to write a bill, it's so far like, we'll be like 6 years ahead in 6 minutes in the time it came for rules for like the last 6 minutes. And I think that's where it gets so incredibly...
Yeah, like...
Yeah, so it's like you living like... And I've told you this. I think right now I've done more with AI that it would take 6 years and 6 people.
Yeah.
6 years and 6 people in maybe a week.
That I can't.
So it's like you can do that much. That's how insane
crazy.
it is.
Crazy. It's like.
But that means you could. There's a couple of things that are coming out in the next week. You're going to see. Obviously, you saw the generative AI on things like Snapchat.
Oh yeah.
Which, have you used it?
I have not used on Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay away from that stuff. Like I don't even want to know.
You can't stay away from that stuff. You have to use it.
I don't even want to know.
But do you think the next 5 years? Let's hear from you. What do you think you see personally?
What do I see?
And you can be fearful now. Like, what do you see?
Honestly, I feel like a really big thing would probably be like transportation. Mm-hmm. Cars. I feel like they're going to be more like self-driven.
Right.
Now. Like, I mean, like I remember even as like a kid, like they're like, oh, by like 2020, there's going to be like flying cars or.
Right.
But and it didn't happen, obviously. But
Not yet.
Not yet. But now with this like technology and stuff, like it's definitely going to.
Yeah. Well,
happen.
it's kind of like it's kind of like, well, Keri, at least you don't have to worry about like crashing into anything.
That happened like twice.
It's like the flying cars. I mean, except if no, but like, let's just talk about socially.
Socially?
Like socially, do you think the world becomes a more connected place or a lonelier place?
Definitely lonelier. Definitely. I mean, on the app, we talked about this, how now you could like chat with an older sister or
a dead relative.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just saw on Instagram, like the beginning of this week, they made a post, account I follow, about how a lady is getting married to a hologram made from all her ex-boyfriends using AI.
Is that crazy? So guys, just think you could. I mean, now they're going to do that with real estate agents. They're going to take all the best hallmarks of your local real estate agent, and they're going to turn it into that. That's going to be your. But you're right. So that's an interesting thing. Is now, but in the rather sense of creating a false sense of utopia. I think that's where the scary part of this is. But the big thing that's happening this week with AI, I think obviously the main competitors are ChatGPT. I do think that Google has fallen way behind you have Meta. I don't know what Meta is up to as far as that's concerned, except for the fact that it's being used on Instagram. ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They running their own software. Then you have Microsoft. There's a few others out there. Gemini is the new Google, AI. It was Bard, Google Bard, and they changed it around. Google is just having a very, very rough time because that's the thing. We were talking about that too quickly about search.
Yes.
There's no more searching. Like you still say you use Google. I don't use Google nearly.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stay true to my Google.
Yeah. So people don't Google it anymore. They GBT it, and it's like. That's the interesting thing, though. That's where marketing is really interesting because it's now even narrower. Now, before, like you used to get search results. Now you think of a system that can narrow. Now it's like the result is no longer like an expansive result. It's giving you the answer, and that answer could be deemed as absolute. And that's where, if you ask me, that's where AI is not the best in the absolute sense. So that framework could lead to very strong opinions one way or another. It could lead to business practices changing or not being adapted depending on how that program. Because that's what happened with Google Gemini. They basically did some things that created based upon the ideals of whoever printed it up, whoever programmed it to act a certain way. It didn't meet the standardization of the criteria. So the big thing is that what we're seeing is there could be a lot of bias built into that pen is just keep rolling around.
Both our pens keep rolling.
But the big thing is like, where does that lead for you guys? So one of the things that we are, in terms of revolutionary, is the bot. So the three things that we're going to be looking at next month, you're going to see that what we're going to call the first mass scale bots across every parameter of the internet. So no matter what you're using, you're going to be seeing bots on everything. Bots for just about every. I think they're going to be launching bots on all real estate platforms. They're going to be so you're going to start seeing that more and more. The phone calls, everything else, you're going to be seeing. I think by the time you hit June or July, we're going to see a very mass adoption taking place. So stay tuned for that because, when we decide we're going to be running Prodigy with bots. And we'll just have everybody stand behind the computer. No.
Oh my God.
But the big thing is that it's going to be, I think 6 months, June will be a very pivotal month. And I think you're going to start seeing the first real scale adoption of Web3 in the AI space. So that's going to be the two things I see in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years. Where does this lead? Folks, I really think that, I'm not going to say this lightly, the world will change drastically in the next 5 years.
Oh.
I think it's an inevitability at this point.
Yeah.
It's going to change drastically. And not in ways that people are used to seeing change because of the speed of this. It's off the wall speed. There'll be a very quick transition to you're not going to know exactly what is in front of you when you're speaking, whether it's real or whether it's fake. It's already gotten to the point where it's like they're just tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah.
Spatial differences, things like that, how things interact. It's not that far off now. So you're going to see the biggest change, I think, in the next 2 years. Where does that lead? To a whole different world. And I think everybody I tell my son all the time, be prepared for what that means, or if you're younger, where that's going to take you. But I think as far as company is concerned, you better not just have someone who knows how to operate. It's one thing to operate ChatGPT. it's knowing the complexities, and I skill myself to know exactly what. There are specific things now that they even escape most people's idea of what ChatGPT can be used for, and it still comes down to how smart you are with the programming to know exactly what to do.
Oh yeah,
You have to know
yes, I agree. There is like
that curve,
yes.
right? So I mean, so the big thing is what does that mean for the future? All right. So do we have any last words for the AI future, Keri? Anything?
I can't think of any right now.
Good.
Great.
That means we could end this segment
That's
right now.
everything.
And I think if you have a question about where AI is heading, we certainly would like to hear your input and your feedback.
Yeah.
Let me know in the comment section, like or whatever platform you see us on, that where the world is changing fast, and you go check out our Facebook pages, right?
Facebook pages.
And that has plenty of all the sophisticated artificial intelligence.
Yeah, even our Pinterest. Check out our Pinterest. We've
Pinterest
been
is-
putting some cool stuff out on
Yeah,
there.
Pinterest is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pinterest, so we've seen explosive growth in Pinterest. I think we're up to, and the other thing is that if you haven't checked us out on all our social media, we're now across multiple platforms. I think we're getting into like, we're close to like almost 200,000 people a month tuning into our various channels. So thank you from next door.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see Keri Star videos.
Yes.
She's become famous at the gym. They know it's Keri coming to the because everybody at the front desk says, "Keri, what's the stats today?"
Yes, people do ask me.
Have you gone into a restaurant that's happened?
A restaurant? No.
Where was the?
No, no.
Let me just ask you, where was the place it happened that you did not expect it would happen?
I was out on Staten Island.
Okay, and
No, somebody, they recognized me. One time I got a DM too. Oh, and like my friends of friends like send me stuff like.
no, but like, have you come across someone random that you didn't know before that moment, and actually had someone say,
I have not came across that yet. No.
"Okay, so if you see Keri, she said leave her alone." But if you do, she's a bot now because she's just about on every platform you can imagine.
Oh my god.
Well, we did. You passed out a card and you were on the back of it.
Yes, my friends.
You were on the back of it.
My friends got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I think, I think, I'm going to have to tattoo Prodigy on you.
Oh god.
And you got to keep a permanent brand. But anyway, that's what we have for tonight. And guys, obviously feedback is important. If there is something you'd like to discuss, and obviously I felt like, getting a little bit off the real estate sphere. We do that stat stuff. It gets a little bit boring. This is wild. Guys, pay attention to it. This is crazy. This is like really interesting stuff. So get your tinfoil hat. There's going to be a lot of conspiracies around,
I know.
around AI.
I'm not ready.
Even the fake ones.
Yeah.
You're not gonna believe it. They like showed this place with there's been fakes already that's made news. There are people making fake images and posting them like news events, and they're like freaking people out, and it's like
I seen that on Twitter.
matter of fact, I made the octopus attacking the bridge.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, on TikTok now it says that when something is AI generated or not, so that's
TikTok,
good.
yes, we get those reports.
Yes.
So someone calls us out every now and again. But it's not just ChatGPT.
Yes.
Anyway, you have a great night, folks. We'll see you in a couple, and you'll see us do stats, I think, next week.
Yes, for
Yeah.
February. Yep.
The Ides of March are upon us.
Yeah, can't wait.
Can't wait for Ides of March. Ugh.
Yes.
Everybody knows March. I'm going to hide for a month. Anyway, that's Friday. You have a great night, folks. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes. Good night, guys.